For many years, you've been hounding, if you forgive the term, on gross margin. Is that still your primary focus?
Well, I'd like to thank you for using the phrase many years rather than since the dark ages. It'll let me feel like a kid again, if I could. Actually, I have changed focus a little bit. And I think part of the reason is most distributors have gotten tired of me hounding on gross margin, and so they've actually begun to do some things, which I think is great. That doesn't mean we ought to forget about gross margin, not at all. And I will probably continue to harangue about gross margin until my final breath. However, we're kind of getting our hands around the issue a little bit. And at this point, I've actually become much more concerned about payroll expenses. And to a real extent, I've become kind of a payroll fanatic. And the reason is that we've got some data that suggests we're not really doing what we need to do with regard to payroll. Now, as you probably know, our company is the largest provider of tailored financial benchmarking in distribution in North America. We've been conducting research in this area for more than 20 years. Some of our research goes back even 30 years. And starting about 4 or 5 years ago, I started dusting off those moldy, oldie reports from 25 years ago and looking at the financial results that we had back in those days. And one thing just jumped out at me, and I was not aware of this, and I thought I was kind of on top of trends. And that is, in almost every line of trade, there's been no improvement in payroll as a percent of sales in that 20 years. And I want to make sure everybody's clear on what I'm saying. Payroll as a percent of sales today is essentially the same number it was 20 years ago. Now, that does not mean we haven't been more productive. We've implemented a long list of technological improvements. I mean, barcoding and RFID technology and things I don't even understand. And as a result, sales per employee has gone up. And sales per employee is a key measure of productivity, and it's not just gone up a little bit, it's gone up a lot. And the problem is that hasn't translated into an improved payroll percentage. And I like to think of productivity systems, again, barcoding, RFID, et cetera. If I may use an old professorial term, for which I apologize, it's a necessary but not sufficient answer. What that means is if you don't invest in technology and everybody else does, you're behind the power curve. And a classic example of this is Kmart versus Walmart. And starting 25 years ago, Kmart made no investment in technology, and Walmart made a tremendous investment. And as a result, Kmart got buried technologically, and, kind of game, set, and match. However, even though it's necessary, it's not sufficient. You can't just rely upon systems and procedures to solve the problem. And if we assume that payroll is going to be impacted because of productivity, we're kind of kidding ourselves, because as productivity has increased, sales per employee, so have salaries, health care costs, other factors, and so we've not really made any changes in improving payroll expenses. And I think it's going to be a brand new battleground in terms of distribution. It will require some very new ideas in terms of which customers we serve, how do we serve them, what is our profile of doing business, a lot of things that are going to be important. But I'm really focusing on payroll at this point in time.